What's going on, YouTube? Today I bring you my inside defensive line rankings for the 2021 NFL season. Without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off with the honorable mentions. First off, we have Brandon Williams. A solid enough tackle, not the best run defender, gets some pressure. Overall, just more of a line defender, fill up the middle type guy, and he does it well. Eddie Goldman, who missed last season, opted out, but before that, solid guy, pretty similar to Brandon Williams, but definitely does get a bit more pressure and also a better run defender. And then maybe a guy that I think is probably going to piss off a lot of people is Fletcher Cox. Fletcher Cox used to be one of the top 5 defensive tackles in the NFL. I just don't feel he's on that level anymore. He's still a great defensive tackle, obviously, but people will point to guys like Fletcher Cox and Darius Slay and be like, well, we have them, so why are we supposedly such a bad team? It's because those guys really are not good anymore. Darius Slay is still, a good corner, but he's not like what he was with the Lions, in my opinion, and Fletcher Cox is definitely starting to regress. So I have him here on the honorable mention. Still one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL, but he's just not top 10 anymore. Who is top 10 is Michael Pierce, who again opted out last season, but in 2019 did have a pretty solid season. Only 1 sack, 24 tackles, but really where this guy shines a lot more is, again, just being that line defender, filling up the middle, but he gets those stops. I mean, he's not just there he fills up the middle, but he's not just there for that. I think he's, a bit more talented than, say, like Eddie Goldman, Brandon Williams, and that's why he is above him here. So at number 10, I think Michael Pierce, it's a fair enough rating for him, or fair enough placing for him. He's here at number 10. Number 9, we have Grady Jarrett for the Falcons. Had a really nice breakout campaign in 2019, and then I think he's kind of cooled down since that breakout campaign. Now, obviously, still very good. 80.2 PFF grade, so obviously a very good run defender, as well as creating some nice pressure, 31 tackles and 5 sacks. Overall, I think he's a pretty good defensive tackle. I don't think he's elite. I don't think he's like top 5, but he is still a very solid guy, and I think he's top 10 worthy. He's our first 2-star defensive tackle of the video, so yeah, Grady Jarrett coming in here at number 9. Number 8 is going to be Daron Payne off of Washington football team. Played all 16 games last year, had a 68.2 PFF grade, so he's not like a horrible run defender, but he's not the best. But 39 tackles and 4 sacks. Really, I think this guy's probably the best second defensive tackle in the NFL. And for being the second defensive tackle, I think he still makes very good production. Obviously, Washington has a very good defensive line there. So you're going to see one of his other teammates on this list, and even what would it be? Sunday's video. But yeah, so I think Daron Payne deserves to be on this list. 2-star defensive tackle. I think he's solid enough to be on this list. And, maybe you can argue a few other guys above him, but I have him here at number 8. Number 7, we have Quinnen Williams, who really is quickly becoming one of the game's best inside defensive linemen. Now, I'm going to have him here at number 7. Played 13 games last year, 81.4 PFF grade, 37 tackles, and 8 sacks. Obviously, a very good productive season. And really, he was a great defensive tackle last year, and he was, even still super good in his rookie year. I can't put him in the top 5 quite yet, but if he does have another season of similar production, I don't think you can argue him out of the top 5 at that point. For right now, I do have him as a 2-star guy, and number 7 is still obviously a great placement for a third-year player. Number 6, we have Vita Vea, who was secretly very, very good last year in the 5 games he played. 90.1 PFF grade, so very, very, very good run defender. I think you should know that, even without looking at the PFF grade. Only 8 tackles and 2 sacks, but again, he only played 5 games, so if he would have, played all 16 games, he was probably on pace for more 8 sacks and 25 tackles, something around there. So Vita Vea, when healthy, is one of the game's best defensive tackles. He's our first 3-star guy on here, and played great in the playoffs for the Buccaneers. So get him a healthy season, and he'll be top 5 pretty easily here. Starting off our top 5, we have Daron Payne's teammate, Jonathan Allen, who, again, very solid. Started all 16 games for Washington last year, 80.3 PFF grade, 43 tackles, and 3 sacks. This guy's very good. He does both the pressure as well as the run defending, as well as filling the gaps very, very well. Stays healthy, stays consistent, very good run defender. All around, he's one of the best tackles in the game, and I think number 5 is a very well-deserving spot for him. So I really like Jonathan Allen. This is a great spot here for him. Number 4, we have Kenny Clark of the Packers. Reading the stat sheet is not going to tell you how good this guy really is. 13 games, 73.8 PFF grade, 32 tackles, and 2 sacks. At first glance, maybe you'd wonder why he's above some of these other guys, and it's really because at the end of the day, when it comes to like filling the gaps, making, setting that line, setting the inside and stuff, making the plays, there's no one better than Kenny Clark. At least when you're not creating like consistent like sacks like him. There's no one better than Kenny Clark. Obviously, there's 3 guys above him on this list, but Kenny Clark, though, is a very solid guy. I think I've seen even some Packers guys underrating him, saying like he's not as good as everyone says. No, he is. It's just the stats don't show it. But he is a very, very good defensive tackle, and just very solid at doing what he does. Does not create the most pressure, does not get the most sacks, but he's a very, very good, solid defensive tackle. Our first 4-star player of this list is going to be DeForest Buckner. Played 15 games for the Colts, had an 89.7 PFF grade, 30 tackles and 10 sacks. DeForest Buckner is a very, very good defensive tackle. You could see that the Colts hurt when they didn't have him, and as soon as he came back, he made an instant impact. He's obviously one of the game's best inside defensive linemen, just a force to be reckoned with, gets the pressure, gets the sacks, is an elite run defender. DeForest Buckner is one of the game's best, and the Colts got an absolute steal for only giving 1 first-round pick for him. So DeForest Buckner, great player here for the Colts. Number 2, we have Chris Jones, our other 4-star player on this list. Played 15 games in 2020, 90.3 PFF grade, 21 tackles and 8 sacks. Again, great run defender, like elite run defender. Great at filling the gaps, sets the line like no other. Really, he's a one-man wrecking crew. If he actually had some pass rush help around him, he could put up a lot more production. I was going to say he might be number 1, but we all know who number 1 is, and it's really not a debate. But he could put up an even better production if he had some pass rush help around him. But once again, elite run defender, still gets great pressure and sacks for a defensive tackle. The fact that he could have some more if he wasn't all by himself there is crazy, and that just really shows you how good he is. The fact that he is the only man out there on that defensive line, because I don't care about Frank Clark. So yeah, Chris Jones coming in here at number 2 pretty easily. Just an absolutely dominant defensive tackle. But coming in number 1 pretty easily, we should all know who he is. One of the 5-star players in the NFL. It's going to be Aaron Donald. Played all 16 games in 2020. 94.5 PFF grade, 20 tackles and 15 sacks. 15 sacks for a defensive tackle should not be possible. And yes, he's technically a right end. I was considering putting him on the edge players list because he's a right end technically, but he's an interior guy. Aaron Donald is insane. He's easily the best inside defensive lineman. And, when you can say that you're potentially better than Aaron Rodgers as a defensive tackle, you're pretty freaking good. Honestly, and don't get mad at me for this. I think, this might be perhaps there's some recency bias here, but Aaron Donald is on the course to go down as the best defensive player ever. And yes, I'm saying over guys like Lawrence Taylor and Bruce Smith. Aaron Donald is playing on a defensive level we've never seen. And you have to consider the fact that he's playing in today's NFL, which just because it is, like, playing in today's NFL as a defender is so much harder than it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. So if you're playing pretty much on the same level as those guys, but like 30 years later, you're really freaking good. I think there's going to be an argument at some point of who's the best defensive player of all time. Is it LT or Aaron Donald? And I think I'm going to have to give it to Aaron Donald. If he keeps playing like this, I think he can not easily, but he can go down as the best defensive player in NFL history. So obviously coming in here at number 1 is going to be Aaron Donald, a 5-star player. But that is my inside defensive line rankings for the 2021 NFL season. Let me know what you guys thought down below. What's your rankings for the inside defensive linemen? If you guys do want to stay tuned for tomorrow's running back rankings for next year's draft, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see all you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.